And now, podcasting from the sun-scorched desert Southwest, weighing in at a combined total of 340 pounds, Brad Winchester, Tyler McDowell-Blanken, are Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell-Blanken. Tyler, it's Sunday, July 9th, or 16th. July 9th was last weekend. I did not update my notes. And as we record this, we are almost 2 hours, about an hour and 40 minutes-ish into our conversation already this morning. How are you doing today?
It was a great production meeting. I have a lot on my mind. We were looking at our ideas for this episode, and I'm so excited to share some pieces of information with you, to ask you a few questions. I know you have some info to share with us. So yeah, man, I'm doing so well today. It's great to see you as always. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. We both had very busy weeks. It sounds like we had very eventful weeks. I think that's the word to use.
Yeah, we did, Brad. Yeah, we did. We'll get to it.
And in a lot of ways, they like you said in the production meeting, they mirrored each other in quite a few ways. We both had conferences, and we both had some other disasters take place. And on that, Tyler, we're going to kick it off right away. We're going to go right into it. I'm saving mine because I have something else. You have a lot today. Very Tyler heavy, everybody. So get ready. It's time. First time in a long time for a promo of the week. Let's kick it off.
And now, the promo of the week.
So we obviously discussed our plans in the production meeting, Brad, but I have so many candidates for promo of the week this episode. It's really record setting. So I'm going to try to cover 3. It definitely not concise fashion. Not even going to lie to you or our viewers. So first, car issues, man. I got my car battery died in October 2021. So fast forward not even 2 years later, it dies again. I bring it to, I'm just going to put them on blast here. I bring it to Arrowhead Chevrolet in Peoria, Arizona. And I called them. I left a voicemail. I asked about the price. They never got back to me. So show up a couple days later and they say it's going to be $286.06 plus tax. We spoke with this jobber named Vince, and it just was a really poor experience. So I told them, hey, I would love to keep my business with you all, but they just kind of gave me the double bird back, proverbially, and I ended up getting it replaced by AAA. So Arrowhead Chevrolet sucks, and I need to find a way to go to a dealership that just doesn't provide these poor customer service experience. You can read all this and more in my Google review, which has gone unresponded to, but they're just awful. And I don't want to go there anymore, but I feel like I'm kind of tied to them forever. Second promo candidate, Tom Horn and his top stooge, Sid Bailey. I sent you this info, Brad. I also put it on Twitter and LinkedIn, which I don't know if that's what you should do on LinkedIn, but hey, I did it. Yeah, man. So this past weekend on Saturday, the top story in the Arizona Republic, AZ Central, is, I don't know if you can see my phone.
Yes.
This jobber.
Hold it up a little bit. There we go. Yeah, there you go.
If you're listening to this, also please check out the YouTube. You're missing out. This guy is named Sid Bailey, Brad.
Sid Bailey.
I'm not even calling him a nickname. His name in the paper, the caption.
That's an indie wrestler. You can't be otherwise.
What is he doing? What is he doing here? So I want to read you quickly here. The headline is front page Jones. No nonsense tactics urged for educators. The subheadline: classes teach Horn's strict discipline policy. If you're not familiar with the educational landscape in Arizona, Tom Horn is the somewhat newly elected superintendent for public instruction. He was here from, I think, about like 2004 to 2011. And then sadly, he emanated from Tales from the Crypt and somehow got reelected. We try not to make this a political podcast, but here we are. So this article is about, it'll hit close to home, I think, Brad, professional development, a recent PD session for educators in Arizona led by Sid Bailey, who is effectively second or third in command on Tom Horn's staff. Again, the faces of education in Arizona, who teachers can look to as stewards and role models of the profession. I want to quickly read you the last 2 paragraphs of this story. And again, the article is all about classroom practices, specifically classroom management, and how we need to now take a no-nonsense approach to student misbehavior. By the way, Tom Horn's staff has completely eliminated social and emotional learning for students in the classroom, and thus for educators to be more well-rounded in that. What could possibly go wrong? No wonder why there's a shortage of teachers here. Last 2 graphs. But Bailey said he didn't see the racially disparate effects of harsh punishment when he used his approach, his no-nonsense approach, in the classroom when he was a teacher. Quote.
Painful.
I can't stand this mother. Quote, I never really saw color, Bailey said. I try to focus on what I have control of, and I can control the conditions for success. I want to finish by saying, what in the 1950s is going on here? On one hand, we should not be surprised whatsoever that these are the policies that these awful folks believe in. But also, it's just so sad, especially in our backyard, in the state that raised me. Our kids and our teachers deserve so much better. So know that I'm thinking of you for that one, Brad, because these guys do not represent education in Arizona. Their position does, their elected position in Tom Horn's case does, but they do not represent what we believe in. And then finally, my third promo, I'm going to cut on myself. Brad, I saw a really good movie this past weekend. We'll get into that later, maybe hour 2 of the show. And before that, I went with my father. Shout out to him. He's the man. We wanted to find a lunch location. So we ended up going to this AMC Plaza, and there are several different restaurants, Johnny Rockets, Chipotle, Jersey Mike's, lots of options. But we ended up settling on a spot called Twin Peaks. If you are near your device, whether that be your cell phone or a computer, I'm assuming you're near one of those right now, I recommend you Google Twin Peaks Restaurant, Arizona. I think it might be just an Arizona place. And I want you to Google that because you'll find the logo and the slogan. There are literally 2 Twin Peaks, and the slogan is Eat, Drinks, Scenic Views. We pull up, there's like a bear sort of figure statue outside. Seems like, okay, let's try this place out. We've seen it before, but never been. Maybe the food will be good. So we walk in, Brad, and within maybe 5 to 10 seconds, my father and I realized that this is basically this generation's version of Hooters. The staff have these scrunched up tops, Daisy Dukes everywhere, and more power to them, right? So the food ended up being really good. Although we had to wait for service for a while, the service ended up being really awesome as well. But I had this moment, right? So this promo's being cut on me. No one works there, on me. I think I've reached the point now, being 30, where these sort of spots just aren't my scene anymore. We ended up learning that our server plans to attend the University of Arizona this fall. She's going to be a nurse, so amazing. She's going to kill it. But reflecting on myself, I thought, oh no. So you either just graduated high school, maybe you spent 2 years in a community college, maybe you took time off. I don't know, but I'm almost certain 90% of that staff were 24 and under. And there were just a lot of breasts, man. Maybe even too much. Dare I say, one may argue. It was a lot to take in, but I'm cutting this promo on me because I need to be less oblivious. Upon reflection, I realize now that the Twin Peaks logo is a very savvy way of telling consumers or customers, come here, you will see lots of breasts. The Twin Peaks in the logo are breasts, Brad. And when it says eats, drinks, and scenic views, the scenic views aren't aren't the mountainous landscape. The scenic views are women and their breasts. And I just didn't realize that whatsoever. My chicken salad was really good. The service ended up being great. But I think it's a one and done for me at Twin Peaks.
Wow. Tyler, I'm going to share something with you. It's a very similar story. Only I was in high school. I think. Might have been younger. I'm not sure. What I do know is that we were shopping, visiting, doing something. We were visiting my brother who at the time, well, I must have been in college then. Maybe, I don't know. Was living in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And we were hungry. So we went to a place called the Tilted Kilt.
We have that here. I was going to bring that up. Yes.
Yeah.
Know exactly what you're talking.
This
is the Tilted Kilt.
Tilted Kilt Pub and Eatery.
Same
that
thing.
logo is just says tilted, and the word tilted is tilted. I had no indication that I was about to walk in there, except the word tilted is not just tilted. It's very, very much the back of a female form is the shape of the word tilted. And I saw things with my mother that one probably shouldn't see with their mother. It was the thing. So I haven't gone into a place like that on purpose outside of the other thing. When it was the last one, Bedrock's Bowling in Tucson, Ina Road. I think it closed. I know the Hooters inside of it did. I was bowling. I don't remember who I was with even. And you can go into the Hooters there. It's the restaurant. It's either that or you get like the bowling alley pizzas, which if it's a dive and it's somewhere old, the pizza probably is awesome. This is not that place. This is like, yeah, we got it. We'll defrost it in the back, and you'll have your pizza ready when it's good and well cooked. And we were like, well, let's just go get some wings, because they have a counter. You can just go up and order, and I'll grab a beer, get some wings, go back out and bowl. And the waitress that came up to help us was a former student and very recent graduate. And I went, yeah, this is it for me. I'm never coming into another place like this ever again. I'm going to be more careful. Teacher life is different, man. I think that there's a different perspective. When you hit your 30s, it's all different anyway. I think, in my experience, I know you have similar views here. Unfortunately, you had similar views at Twin Peaks, and I feel for you.
I didn't even tell you, Brad. Final note on Twin Peaks. I'm so happy you mentioned Tilted Kill. I don't know if our viewers would know that, but that's an absolutely apt comparison.
Yes.
I forgot to say at Twin Peaks, what also made my experience so memorable was when you walk in, it's supposed to give very campy vibes.
Uh-huh.
So adorning the walls are different variations of bucks and deer.
That's right.
Just not, if you know anything about me or have spent any significant time with me, again, I'm not knocking anyone's lifestyle, but it's just not for me. It really reminded me of that scene near the end of Get Out, where Chris is able to like undo himself from the room and ends up grabbing one of those deer or bucks off the wall, and then kills the dad, who's the doctor, and then obviously gets away. It reminded me of that. And then there was also this attractive patron at the bar who snuck in a vape and was vaping. It was an experience, man. I'm glad that I can confide in you for these situations, because like you said, not only the job itself, but then also turning 30, it just really shifts your perspective on a lot.
It's frightening. Just imagine Roman coming out there as the manager, just making your life a miserable existence.
Man.
Yeah. What a time, man.
What a time.
I'm glad I don't have to worry about any of this for a while. And as a palate cleanser, yes, the stories were funny, but they're not exactly the most positive things in the world, right? Car problems, going into Twin Peaks. We have a lot of stuff going on already here. So let's try to make this a little bit more positive, and then we'll get into wrestling talk here. But first, we haven't done this in a while either. We have a Someday When You Have Kids. So let's play the music.
And now it's time for
I'm crazy.
Someday
Someday.
When You Have Kids.
crazy.
So Tyler, a couple of weeks ago now, I can't believe it's been that long. Jess had surgery, minor surgery, major surgery. I don't know what constitutes surgery. If they knock you out, I feel like it's major surgery. And had a procedure done, and then we recovered in the hotel. Came back here. Freya took care of Jess. She is the most thoughtful, the sweetest, most caring kid I've ever met in my entire life. She's also the worst at putting things away, but she made sure to go get water. She made sure to go get blankets. She's like, I know it'll make you feel better. When you're sick, you got to drink water. I'm going to go get some water. She got her little stool out. She'd get a cup, get the water out of the fridge, fill it up, bring it over to mom, get her a pillow, ask her if she needs anything else. I didn't even see any of this happen. I think I was back here probably doing stuff for the pod or for a couple of the projects that I'm working on. And I missed all of it. But someday when you have kids, you're going to get sick. You're going to get hurt. And you'll get help in unexpected areas. It was the most lovely thing to see. It's one of my favorite memories from this year is watching Freya go out of her way to take care of her family that she loves. And we love her for it. It was beautiful. I wish I had it on film, but she's the best. Absolutely the best. And hopefully you get to experience that someday when you have kids.
That was beautiful. I mean, we know Freya is an ultra baby face, but man, you know how much I love hearing your reflections on fatherhood. And I know with Jess's surgery, it was a lot, right? It was stressful. It was a little scary at the same time.
I will say we stayed at the Westin Kierland up in Scottsdale, and I've been at a conference this week at the Westin La Paloma.
Yeah.
And the La Paloma is a shithole in comparison. It is not, bro. I walked past a dead bird and 2 hornets' nest in one staircase at La Paloma this week.
I have questions.
We'll get into that later.
And La Paloma is thought to be one of the ritzier spots in Tucson, is it not?
It's huge. It looks really beautiful. Absolute facade. It's like one of those sci-fi movies, man. You walk up and it looks like the workers are all on edge and scared, but they don't want to talk about it. Everybody there seems miserable and they're against their will. Like they're secretly, their souls are being held by this force that is in the basement. And then if they try to escape, their families will die. It's just like everybody there looked like totally miserable. The place is just, it's not filthy, but it's dirty and dingy enough to look at it and go, this is kind of, I don't, something wrong here. You can't have opulence if it's dirty. Dirty opulence is a haunted house. That's all it is.
So that's a good sentence.
And that's totally the vibe that I was getting out of this place.
Wow. Well, I'm just so thrilled to hear that Freya, no surprise, right? But Freya she has these moments of exhibiting the best qualities of her mom and dad. So that was a beautiful story. You also delivered it in much more concise fashion than me and my own anecdote. So kudos to you, my guy. That was, like I said, really, really wonderful. I appreciate you. I appreciate Freya. Shout out to her. Give her an extra hug for me.
Will do. Tyler, we have wrestling to get into on this wrestling centric podcast, I guess we should say. So let's get into it. I'm ready for your WWE question.
Yeah, man, let's roll. So for WWE, I loved the amount of Bianca Belair that we received on SmackDown. Predictably, that main event ended in chaos, likely setting up a triple threat of Asuka versus Bianca versus Charlotte at SummerSlam. Santos Escobar advanced. The Judgment Day defeated Tricanello on NXT. Cody officially challenged Brock on Raw for a rubber match, again, setting up SummerSlam. So there's a lot to discuss, but I wanted to tell you what I'm most excited for. We saw a tease on SmackDown that Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits may be aligning. I am already prepared to pre-order the tea. Here's my question.
Damn it. You already know it's my question.
Perfect.
Okay.
Do you see this as a Hurt Business 2.0 situation or something completely different?
Since we went really long, on the first part. We're 20 minutes deep. Allow me to also ask my question. Okay. LA Knight, Bianca Belair, Jey Uso. The WWE has made stars on SmackDown. However, my favorite part of the night, my favorite pop of the night was Bobby Lashley picking up the Street Profits. My question for you was, and we could just simply have a discussion now. Tyler, does this mean what I hope it means? Yes, I hope it means a 2.0 for Hurt Business. We haven't seen Benjamin in I don't know how long. I don't know if he's on the shelf or if he's just they don't have anything for him to do because of, I don't know, his age or where he fits on the roster right now. I don't know where Cedric is. Is he still in NXT? Is he doing like main event? Is he doing dark matches, house show? I don't really know anything. That dude should be highlighted a lot more. I know that. So I don't know where anybody is. I have no idea where the Hurt Business is right now. Everybody's just sort of missing. But if it means Street Profits and Bobby Lashley are the new beginning of that, yes. Yes. My answer is yes to whatever your question was.
That's mine too. I know there had been some rumors, or I guess maybe just kind of fantasy booking amongst the community about how cool would it be if these three joined forces, and actually seeing it in real time for the first time. I'm so excited, Brad. It doesn't matter to me if they're presented as baby faces. We've seen Lashley do both. Street Profits have been heels. I'm sorry, Street Profits have been baby faces for a while, but I think they could certainly have heel personas in them. Regardless of how this is presented, I have so much faith that to your question, these could be the next three that are presented as huge stars on Friday nights. We've seen them shine in their own way. The Street Profits have held gold. Bobby Lashley has been WWE champ in recent memory, but I think this is exactly what the Profits need at this time.
Agreed.
I'm such a big fan. I have the Funko Pop figures. You know this, but they're really in need of a new coat of paint, and I think this could really be the gateway to get them there. I'm so stoked.
Bobby coming out wearing the suit. Bobby in a suit is always my favorite thing.
He was made for it.
Yes, 100%. I don't know what it is about it, but when that man comes out in a suit, you're like, oh, he is in charge of everybody.
Yeah, I can't even buy the right size dress pants, Brad. It's like, I have one pair of dress pants. I'm a 32. The ones from Target are 36. Does that mean I should just go 34 from now on? Do I need to get it tailored so that it fits a little bit? Bobby Lashley, he just walks. These are not problems he has.
Oh, no. And he wears the suit like he belongs in the suit because he does. He commands respect in that thing. He commands respect in general, but it's mostly out of fear when that dude comes out because he's a monster. But then he wears the suit and you're like, this is the boss. This is the final boss. This is the boss of all the bosses.
No doubt.
Put him in a suit and face him off against Roman in a suit.
Yes.
I don't know who wins.
I really think this is my favorite Lashley in his career, the Hurt Business Lashley, and he's been around, Brad, for a long time. He is not a new face. He was in WWE's version of ECW.
Yeah.
That's when he really started getting momentum. He had the run in Impact, which was great. But yes, exactly. Hurt Business Lashley, and then whatever this version is going to be, I think he's still as good as ever.
Kind of right after the Lana stuff, right?
Oh,
he and Lana.
Rusev and Lana.
Was Bobby and Lana, remember?
And Bobby and Lana, yeah. I think about the damage it did to Rusev.
And it was like the wedding was off or whatever it was, and he walked off. And then I think right after that was the Hurt Business, and things just took off from there. That act was so good. And everybody loved it, even though they were bad guys, but it was Thunderdome, so they're just piping in booze. It's like, I don't think you know what kind of cultural phenomenon you've created here, and then you killed it like 3 times.
Yeah.
So
and even the Rusev, now Miro, obviously in AEW, Rusev versus Lashley, to me, that's borderline WrestleMania main event. If we get the Miro character versus Hurt Business final boss Lashley, that should not be a hour 2 match on Raw in a silly, ridiculous feud. Like you should be pretty money with that on your biggest pay-per-view. Yeah.
Until this Friday, I honestly forgot Gallows and Anderson were in the WWE. I had completely forgotten. I completely forgotten about Karrion Kross. Most of the match time on SmackDown, I think, was dedicated to the AJ Styles match, and just didn't really care about any of it. AJ and Kross might be good, but everything else is just there right now. I didn't love it, but I did love. My favorite segment lasted all of a minute. It was Street Profits going, "Is he here? Is he here? Is that's got to be him, right?" And then the huge limo pulls up. He walks out, dapped him up, got into the limo, left. No words were said. It was just, "I'm here," and that's it. And it was amazing. The next was LA Knight, man. LA Knight was the only one that didn't come out to a video package, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Doesn't need it.
Title.
Yeah.
It has to be him.
It has to be. There's no other option.
If it's not, we all riot.
No, we love Santos. We love the LWO, but it has to be LA Knight at SummerSlam. I think it's clear that Austin Theory's title reign has kind of just slowly dissipated. I think there was promise, right, when he was kind of turning a corner, and it seemed like, oh man, he's pretty decent on the mic. He's a solid in-ring worker, but I think that program with John Cena at WrestleMania,
bad.
It did not propel him the way it was supposed to. I don't know who's to blame for that. I don't know if anyone's to blame, but it's clear to me that it's LA Knight's time to take the strap off him.
His I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. His I guess Cena's promo, where he said these are all the things that are going to happen. They all kind of happened. And now we're left with like a chicken and an egg question. Did they happen because of the promo? Did we look at him differently because of that program and that promo? Or was he just right? And we'll never know, right? Like we'll never know what kind of impact that had on him. But him saying all of those things to Theory really did hurt Theory, I think. Because we were all sort of thinking it. He just said the quiet part out loud. And I don't know if that led to a more precipitous fall in his standing. Because like when he comes out now, I kind of feel like the crowd collectively goes, oh, not boo. It's just sort of a meh. And that sucks because I don't think that's Theory's fault. But this character probably needs a shift. I thought, like you, I thought that initial character shift was awesome for him, where he just went full heel. He grew out the facial hair. He started just getting really violent with everybody. I thought that was great after losing the Money in the Bank briefcase. And I thought that was great. I thought he needed that. And I thought it was going to take off, and it just sort of stagnated.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think two parts here. So one, we've seen him presented in a much more effective way, not on the main roster, but in NXT. Do you remember when he was a part of the Way?
The Way, that's right.
with Gargano, Candice Wrestling, and Indy. He was positioned as sort of the stereotypical dumb jock, for lack of a better title, and that really worked. It was effective. The crowd was cheering for him. It was endearing in a way, and so it's unfortunate that with more shine and him kind of branching out on his own, this has been much less effective, to the point, like you said, Brad, where it's not even crowds are necessarily booing him. It just seems like it's the worst spot you can be in as a wrestler, where crowds are just indifferent to you.
Yeah.
If they're not cheering or they're not booing, they're just, that's not awesome. And he's playing, this point was made, I was listening to Grapsody on Fightful the other day, and they made a really salient point. I felt that Austin Theory is basically an influencer. That's his character, if you were to summarize it.
Yeah.
You have two people who are doing it better. Logan Paul, that's not even him acting. That's his gimmick. His job title is influencer.
Right.
And it's a weird position to give Logan Paul flowers, but shout out to Ricochet. I'm glad he's getting a big spot. And then you have Grayson Waller, who just appeared on the scene. And I don't know how you feel, Brad, but I agree with the Grapsody crew. I think Grayson Waller is doing the influencer bit better than Theory already.
Yeah, I think he's doing a much better job at it. It's also, if you brought the WWE network back to America, okay, you're running the network. how many syndicated TV shows that take place on Raw and SmackDown do you believe there would be? Because we have Ding Dong, we have the Grayson Waller effect, we have the Kevin Owens show, we have had what was the Jericho thing that he did? He bring the Jeritron
The
3000,
highlight reel.
the highlight reel.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a deep cut. Good
we have
reference.
we have had a lot of interview television shows on the television show, and the biggest one of all is Ms. TV. We already have like 9 influencer types on here. Now Bailey hasn't done what Ding Dong Hello for a while. I don't think she's done it since she's been back, right? I can't remember her doing it since she started Damage Control.
No, she is not.
So I guess the point is that there's always going to be somebody that has a TV show on the TV show, the show within a show. Right now it's Grayson Waller, and it's just better than what everybody else is doing. He's better than what everybody. I said it when he was in NXT. I was like, I think this is the guy. This is the one that goes up.
You did. You've been on a good streak over the last year.
Yeah, and it's just he has the push. He has a different look. He has a different sound. He has a ton of charisma. He leans into when he says stuff, I believe it. He knows how to work the crowd really well. He knows how to just piss them off in a way that gets them invested. I think it's great. And also, I don't mind when he's on my TV, and when Theory's on, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go catch a drink and maybe go to the bathroom. And I hate that because I think he's really talented and really good. So I don't know if it's necessarily his fault. I think they just need to find something else for him.
Yeah. And when he was Evolve champion, it was so evident that, man, this guy is tailor-made for the main roster product. I mean, again, the comparisons to Cena were there from day one in terms of the muscularity, the presentation. It was like, this guy is going to be can't miss when he gets to Monday nights. And he's been there, but he's not really standing out from the crowd.
No, but I think Vince McMahon stuff hurt him, right? Because he got hitched to Vince.
The egg.
And then
the golden egg.
Big golden egg.
Who could survive that?
But then Vince left. And the very first thing that happened to him was Daddy isn't here anymore. That was the very next night. And
damn.
What do you
That's rough.
And that was kind of it. That was his introduction to us as on the main roster, is like guy without Vince. Now, who are you? And I don't know that they ever bothered spending time figuring it out for him, who he is. The writers got to do better, because like ultimately I know they're responsible for their own characters, but you know, if they get assigned a gimmick, or if you're like, no, your gimmick is this, or if it's just ride it out, it'll stick. I hope it does. I hope they turn a corner here with him, because he's an incredible look. He's charismatic. He's a really good wrestler. He's athletic as hell. I'd love to see him get a better spot, a better program, better character work, because I think he can do it. They just got to find something better for him to do. I don't get the hate. I don't know why people hate him. I just, right now, I'm not really getting a reaction out of him. Mm-hmm. It's not hate. They're not giving him anything good. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of talent on both rosters right now that are sort of in that space where it's like, yeah, they love them for their contributions and maybe their in-ring work or a thing here and there, but they're not really doing anything. They just are there. Keith Lee wrestling with Dustin Rhodes this week that was cool to look at. Who cares? So it's stuff like that where it's like, I don't know why any of this matters. It's cool I get to see my favorite wrestler, and maybe that's the point, but I don't know if that matters.
Yeah. Well, speaking of reactions, a non-wrestling show has some wrestling-like tendencies, but a non-wrestling show that definitely elicits a reaction, dare I say a pop from me each and every single Monday, of course, is the Bachelorette. So I think it's time that we roll into a rose from me. Hit the music.
And now, for a rose from GI's most eligible bachelor.
Brad, let's get into it, man. We're 3 episodes into Charity Lawson's Bachelorette season. Here's what you need to know. I have 3 bullet points. First, you saw the footage because I sent it to you this morning. Mm-hmm. Charity had the most awkward date of the season with our guy, admittedly very handsome, kind of racially ambiguous Warwick, who's a 27-year-old construction manager from Nashville. They rented out an entire carnival, and she sent him packing during dinner at said carnival. It was incredibly awkward. It's hard to tell if like Warwick was sort of acting awkward and thus he would get more publicity from the show, or if he's just naturally not the most communicative or savvy when spending time with the opposite sex. But you can vouch for me, this date was incredibly awkward, was it not?
It was one of the most awkward things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was bad.
A lot of silence and a lot of like, I just don't really like dating is basically what he said while on a date.
Yeah, and this dude is like looks like a Tommy Hilfiger model. Like, I don't know what's missing here, but it was just pretty jarring. And again, sadly, the dude is back in Tennessee now. Braden, speaking of wrestling tendencies, the 24-year-old traveling nurse from San Diego, there's always a traveling nurse every season, is still the established heel, Brad. Many of the dudes, even I would say the majority on this season, can't stand Braden, but predictably, Charity gave him a rose. So definitely something to monitor there. I don't think he's going to last past this week. I think the next time we speak about Batch, he's going to be gone, but stay tuned there. Final point. There was a group date sponsored by the new Barbie film. I even sent you a clip on Monday night when this aired. The guys had to dress up as different versions of Ken, which, as I said this aloud, I think, why am I watching this? Because it's so good and it's so entertaining. For example, there was a denim Ken. There was what did I put here? A cowboy Ken. Kind of gave Hangman Page vibes. And that dude actually is a wrestler. That's his real job, the guy on the season. So it was really interesting. But that got me thinking. You and Jess have been together for many years. Word on the street is you've been married for about 15. And obviously 15 years. Shout out to you both. You dated before then. Your love has truly stretched across 1,984 miles from Michigan to Arizona. I looked that up. Here's my question for you. I don't think I've asked you this. What's the best date you've planned during the span of your relationship?
You know, I don't know that I have. I don't know that I've ever planned a date with her. We've always sort of just planned together. I think for us, it's been like maybe it's not considered a date. We've planned surprises for each other and trips and stuff like that. Like one year it was. Well, I actually talked to you about this before we started. We went and saw The Lion King in Madison when the Broadway traveling show was there. We went to the Opera House. I got her tickets because I knew she would want to go see that, and then planned a night around that. I guess that would be probably the closest thing to that. But otherwise, it's not really like, hey, I made dinner appointment or a dinner reservation, and we're gonna go, because we're both so busy that I know that if I do that, it's gonna be like, oh, I have a meeting tonight. Oh. Or I have a this, or I can't tonight, I have a that. So we just can't operate that way. When we were in college and we were dating, I certainly had ideas and I planned them out. But our dates were very informal dates. They weren't like, we're gonna go to this thing, we're gonna go to this place. It was like, hey, I kind of want to go to the beach. Do you want to go for a walk? And we would go just walk and talk and hang out. There's one time we just kind of walked around and talked to each other. We sat on a bench, and then we were walking around. I think we ended up at like in the Hardee's parking lot, Carl's Jr. if you're out west, and we watched them open. We were up all night. I didn't even realize we were up. When the sun started coming up, and we're like, well, I guess we could get breakfast. I don't remember if we ever did, but our biggest thing was like, or my biggest thing for her was just like, let's just get together and spend time and try to make it as romantic as possible by just going out. But at that time, I don't know if it was more like I want to have a date, or if it was more I just want to spend time. And I don't even remember if we were dating at that point. We might have just been hanging out, and that was that, before I ever went like, oh, I actually have feelings for you. So I can't remember, but it is one of my favorite memories. So as far as planning dates, the only one I ever extensively thought out was when I proposed. And I had to audible the whole thing. And that's a story for another time.
That's its own episode.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, much love to our future sponsor, Hardee's. how could they not want to get on the GI bandwagon after that, man?
If
That
they
was great.
don't bring back that raisin biscuit with like the sweet frosting or glaze on top, glazed biscuits,
I never had this.
I want nothing to do with them. Until those come back, I'm good. Like, we will allow you to be our sponsor if you bring them back, Hardee's.
Those are the terms.
Yes.
Yeah. Period.
Great breakfast there. Their burgers, kind of like eating a sponge, but the breakfast, man,
The breakfast is where it's at.
elite.
Most important meal of the day. That's a great transition.
Yes.
The elite.
So that's
Brad,
right.
we have a lot to discuss in AEW. Well played. I think our usual mode is I ask the question first. So are you ready for my AEW question of the week?
As long as it's not like mine, yes, let's go.
No promises. It's official. Pac and Kota Ibushi are the fifth men for the BCC and the Elite. Huge dynamite from Boston upcoming this week. Chris Jericho, like many of us, is still figuring out what he wants to do with his life. FTR retained their tag team championship in an hour-long fight. Put all caps in my notes.
Brutal.
Ridiculous. Just
Amazing
absolute
match.
fire coming from Calgary.
Match, yeah.
They did defeat the BC Gold. However, I want to bring back one of my favorite questions. We have two new Owen Cup winners.
Mm-hmm.
Who now becomes a singles champion sooner? Ricky Starks or Willow Nightingale? Also, which title do you predict they'll win?
So are you asking which of those two will become an AEW sanctioned single star first?
Correct.
Okay.
Has to be sanctioned.
Okay.
But much respect to FTW as well.
Well, yeah, yes. Because Willow already a strong champion. Ricky FTW champion.
Good point. Very similar.
Yeah, the second FTW champion, right? Brian Cage was or not, was it Brian Cage? Yeah, Brian Cage was first.
And then he beat Brian Cage and Hook beat it off him. Yep, you got it.
Yep. And then eventually Hobbs murked him after Hook took it, which is the appropriate action there. I don't know that I want to see Jungle Boy with that belt, but that doesn't make sense to me. The hardcore belt, that doesn't make sense to me unless they're going to have a feud. I think that's tough. I can see Ricky being the one to win the TNT belt next, but I don't want him to. I don't know how you feel, but I just don't care about the TNT belt still. I care more than I did a little bit because I love Christian. Christian Cage is so good at just being a jerk. He's just so good at it. But this Luchasaurus run it's giving me like 1998 Kane vibes. His in-ring work.
That's good.
Right? Like it's very methodical. It's the 4 or 5 big moves. It's a choke slam. It's a whatever, but it's all just like huge, heavy, big offense, and slow, methodical movements because I'm a giant and I'm a killer, and that's fine. But it's just when you put that in there with all the other stuff, so that the people that critique AEW of having too many flips and too many acrobatic moves and all that stuff, well, this is when that actually does impact it, because it makes the really big dudes that are moving slowly and methodically to emphasize their size look slow and a little boring by comparison. So when you go full high octane into something that's there to tell a story about a really huge just hoss, things get a little bit muddy. And we know that dude can do sunset flips. So
yes, he can.
Right. So
kip ups, nip ups, everything, right?
Not that I want to see him do any of those things, but what is he? Like, wouldn't you rather have Ricky on the mic for this? Christian on the mic is great, but I don't know. Luchasaurus is the champ. So eventually that'll break down, I'm sure, and they'll have a feud. I'd like to see Christian win the belt proper and then be the champ. I'd like to see Ricky win the belt, but I kind of want him to go for the big title. That being said, I can see Willow beating Stat before any of that happens.
Wow. Okay.
Or even Tony. I'm going to say Willow.
Or Tony.
I'm going to say it's Willow.
Wow.
Ricky.
Okay.
Ricky hasn't won gold, but I can absolutely see Willow being the first one to win. So that's my prediction.
Oh, okay, I would love that. I mean, it's well done. My affinity for Willow Nightingale. I'm gonna go with Ricky on this one, man. I think you laid out the case for me. Of course, my fantasy booking is Ricky beating the guy to beat MJF at Winter is Coming a year later.
I would love that.
Absolutely, but
I see what you did there. Absolutely.
you know it. I think the TNT route makes a lot of sense for Ricky. I don't think there's a clear, okay, this is the person that needs to beat Luchasaurus / Christian for the TNT gold, but a Christian, if you're right and Christian beats Luchasaurus for it down the line, and then Christian needs an opponent, I think Christian Cage versus Ricky Starks, unless I'm forgetting unless I'm forgetting a segment they've had in the past. Couldn't you see that? I mean, you laid it out already, right? So this is a rhetorical question, probably. Couldn't you see that being finally a TNT program that could really just get this title back on track? I think Ricky going for TNT is a really wise call by you.
Yes.
And I just see that happening quicker than Willow beating Tony, because I think Jamie's coming for Tony, or Willow even beating Chris Stat. I think Ricky's the play here.
Yeah, Jamie beating Chris or Tony at Wembley, I think, is the move.
I hope so.
Hopefully that gets before that it gets us Britt back on our screen.
Yeah,
it's kind of criminal to have her off the screen for this long.
Yeah.
In any substantial way.
You remember 2019?
Oh my God,
2020. I mean, she was the face of the company.
She was one of the best parts of the show when she was in a wheelchair.
One of the best parts in wrestling.
Yes. Not that there was a lot of stuff happening in wrestling at the time, but
the true role model.
Yes, the true role model. And we also at that same time were getting Retribution. So I just remember the first, I think it was the first pay-per-view I had ever purchased on my own was an AEW pay-per-view. And the buy-in was Big Swole versus Britt Baker in the dentist's office.
Let's go. I want to say all out 2018.
I don't think it was All Out. I think it was, I don't know what it was, but it might have been Full Gear.
Okay.
But I don't think I saw, I think the second or third All Out was my first All Out.
Yeah. 2018, 2019. Yeah. Yeah, man, that seems like we're going in the vault, even though that wasn't that long ago.
No, it was and wasn't at the same time, but
yeah, in company history, not in terms of life's timeline.
AEW has had 2 shows since then. Rampage and Collision are now things.
Right.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ricky makes a ton of sense. It makes more sense than Willow. I don't know, for some reason I'm getting like Willow first vibes. And I mean,
she could do it, man. She's well equipped. She's well equipped.
Where she'd fit, like I don't know what belt. Where there's like, what if Ricky forms a tag team and wins tag belts or whatever? There's more options for Ricky to win too.
Right.
But I want him to have a singles, like your question. I want him to have singles gold. Tyler, there is a ton to talk about in AEW. There's so much stuff that happened this week. But I want to talk about Ricky Starks. And I want to ask you, is he turning heel? And here's my question. Why did he or Tony or the company do Jushin Liger so dirty? What the hell was that, man? That was so bad.
It was so awkward. Awkward to the point where, well, I don't want to steal your thunder. Was it planned?
That was my question. Yes. Is he turning heel?
I'm just gonna roll with the vibes here. Total vibes answer. I think it has to be. Why? I think Ricky has enough common sense and respect for the business that he wouldn't, like you said, do Jushin Thunder Liger like that. It just seemed awkward enough where it has to be scripted. I'm gonna say yes. I think I'm surprised. I didn't know this was the route they would take, ? If they are taking it. But I'm going to say yes, scripted and Ricky's turning heel. I don't see how else this could happen.
Yeah, that was my thought too, especially after he grabbed the rope, right? Like he had the 2 count, he had the trunks and the rope, I think, at the end to pin Punk.
Exactly right. We're not even talking about the match itself. Exactly. Yeah. And
then he dipped out of the ring pretty quickly. I mean, he jumped up on the turnbuckle, but then he rolled out kind of laughing, yanked the trophy out of Liger's hand and just started going to the back. And Liger's like, what? Even he turned around and was like, the hell was that? and then just sort of sadly leaves. Like I just flew like what 2,000 miles, 1,000 miles, put on these tights and this headgear, and came out to nothing for no reason. I thought at the very least they'd bring him back to do the Martha Hart stuff. Instead, we got like Stampede strutting in front of the Calgary crowd, and I understand why, but with the legacy of Stampede Wrestling, and those belts are very nice this year, and I just thought we would have Liger out there with them, because otherwise why bring him in unless Ricky's wrestling him next week, which that might happen.
Who knows? It's very possible.
I don't think he retired, so
no, not at all.
Who the hell knows?
And Ricky's such a capable heel. I mean, that's his heel presentation is what made us fall in love with him, right?
Yes.
He was presented as being like low-key kind of despicable when he was with Team Taz, but eventually he's just so good on the mic and so charismatic that, I think they were kind of forced to shift him into a babyface. Like you said, Powerhouse Hobbs clubbed him, and then that was kind of the official turn. He cut a promo saying, I worked too hard. I need more time here. Powerhouse Hobbs nearly kills him, and then we're all cheering for Ricky as a babyface. So if he's turning back to heel, I mean, that dude can make it work. He's absolute money.
He hasn't really changed his promo work.
No, not really.
He really hasn't changed, to your point.
Outfits are the same. Like
everything's sort of the same. And
he's great.
It's same route for LA Knight.
Yeah.
It just eventually worked. And I know some things that worked this week. Tyler, you went and saw Mission Impossible, and I believe it worked for you, but let's hear about it in another edition of GI at the Movies, Mission Impossible edition.
And now it's time for GI at the Movies.
All facts. This movie worked for me in a huge way, Brad. I loved it so much, enough to the point where I'm trying to convince you to somehow see it. Granted, I don't.
What's happening?
Okay, let's go. I was just saying, I don't have a beautiful daughter or beautiful wife.
It's gonna happen.
Okay, say less. Well, I'm going to try to convince our audience to see it along with you. So after Twin Peaks, circle back to my opening monologue on this episode, I saw Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. It's the 7th installment in the series, and already one of my favorites. Tom Cruise plays Ethan Hunt, an Impossible Missions Force, also known as the IMF, agent who is tasked with a mission to retrieve a very special key, formerly owned by Russian Special Intelligence. I'm going to leave it there. All of this is set up in the film's opening scene. This movie was absolutely excellent. Remember all of the action I spoke about in Fast X, Brad? Well, you get all of that, but with an actual storyline and stakes in Mission Impossible. Really awesome cast. I'm going to give you some names here. Haley Atwell, Ving Rhames, Rebecca Ferguson, of course Simon Pegg, and company all delivered. I've also discovered a new celebrity crush. I'm going to try to make sure I pronounce her name correctly. Palm Clementeff, who plays Paris, a French assassin. I discovered that she's Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know if you've seen her IRL or in any other movies.
Yeah.
But not only is she stunning, she is a fantastic actress.
Mm-hmm.
So very exciting times for me over here. See this movie. It clocks in at 2 hours and 43 minutes. But I promise you, time flies. It's a blast, and I know you'll really enjoy it.
Thank you for that. I'm more excited now. When we went to see Into the Spider-Verse, which was great, they played the trailer for this movie, and we looked over at Freya at like all of the action scenes that were happening, and Freya was just going through the whole thing. For those of you on YouTube or on audio that didn't see that on YouTube, my face was my eyes were wide open, and so was my mouth. Just absolute shock face, like, oh my gosh, what's happening? To the point where I was like, maybe she can go, but not for. When I saw the time, I was like, yeah, this is a lot. And that's way too long for a 6-year-old. Also probably grossly inappropriate, but whatever. Therapy's not that expensive. Yeah. Tyler, what did we miss?
Yeah, man. So I wrote a few notes here. Trinity. Let's have some quick Impact Wrestling talk.
Yes.
Slammiversary happened. Trinity defeated Deonna Purrazzo, so she is now knockout women's champion. Big look for her. Big congrats. Josh Alexander is back, as is Eric Young. So once again, Impact delivers a really noteworthy show, and I'm excited to see what comes from here, especially for Trinity. Not as happy news. The Kehlani concert during the WNBA All-Star game. First year, the All-Star game is in prime time. That's a huge deal for them, Brad. Huge look for the organization, or for the league, I should say. And you can imagine my excitement when literally my favorite artist in music was announced as being the going to be the concert singer. So we were about a song and a half in. I think she played Distraction and Nights Like This, two absolute heaters. And midway through Nights Like This, the WNBC had the audacity to take a commercial break. So instead of watching and hearing Kehlani sing, I'm getting Jake from State Farm. This is also a promo of the week candidate, but I saved it for now. So that did not make me happy. I had to sit through 15 minutes of Post Malone during NBA All-Star Weekend, but yet Kehlani cannot get some respect put on their name. So I feel a way about it, but the game was fun. And again, really big progress for the league. And then my final note, Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor is this Friday from New Jersey. And they need a main event. Very sadly, Mark Briscoe is injured and won't be able to wrestle. So I'm eager to see how that card shapes out.
Yeah, maybe for the rest of the year. So it was a serious knee injury, which is really too bad. Wishing him the best. We also had Triple Mania this weekend. Hijo del Vikingo beat Kenny Omega, which big moment. Kenny raised his hand at the end of it. QT Marshall wrestled Penta in what looked like a incredibly violent match. There were thumbtacks, lots of blood, lots of fighting, nothing out of bounds. It was basically they saw the AEW banned move list, the banned spot list, and would bet, and then just did all the things that would probably get banned on TV. And it looked great. I really wanted to check out the show. There's just so much content in the span of like 4 days that it's just not possible. 19 would stop spending so much money on the PJ. Maybe then we could afford to quit our jobs and just watch wrestling all day. I think that would be the best way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, this was an absolute sprint. I enjoyed every single moment of it. I want to add one final plug here. Check out gimmickinfringementpod.com. The one and only, the incomparable Brad Winchester has a new article up. It's titled Living with Pain. Brad, you want to give a quick kind of synopsis or plug for your article? I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you for that. I think there was a lot of injuries taking place in the ring, in AEW, in WWE. We know this about professional athletes. We just mentioned Mark Briscoe, who wasn't even on my list when I was writing the article. And then one of the members of Pretty Deadly just hurt their arm. I can't remember. Pretty Deadly Blonde, I believe, is the one that got hurt, whatever his name is. I have no idea. And I just thought, like, this is that culture, this attitude of, well, I'll just finish. I'll just keep going. I don't want to lose my spot in particular. And professional athletes, Tom Brady famously got his start because Drew Bledsoe was injured. And I wrote about that and made a comp. But it's a little different in the professional wrestling world. We all live with pain, but we don't all have a fear of losing our spot and what it means. It's kind of a way for me to think through what I was feeling at the time and what it spawned at the time. But would appreciate it if you gave it a read, and reach out to us if you have comments or questions, or if there's something you want us to talk about.
Yeah. Find us at GIPod19 on Twitter. You can find Brad at WindDuster. You can find me at Tyler J. McDowell. And we thank you so much for being here, and we hope you'll join us again for the next edition of GI. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.